Have you ever heard a story about a ghost who loved music? Today we will journey to ancient Japan to meet a very special musician. His name was Hoichi, and he played a wooden instrument called a biwa. He was blind, but his music was so beautiful that even spirits came to listen. Welcome to Fairy Tales English Journey, where we learn English through wonderful stories. Our tale today takes place near a famous sea called Dan-no-ura. Many years ago, a terrible battle happened there between two great families. The battle was fierce and many warriors lost their lives in the deep water. The local people built a temple near the water to calm the spirits of the fallen warriors. This temple was called Amida-ji. A kind priest lived there and he took care of the temple grounds. He offered prayers every day so the ghosts of the warriors would find peace and rest. Hoichi was a young man who lived at the temple with the priest. Hoichi lost his sight when he was a little boy. He could not see the beautiful trees or the blue sky. But Hoichi had a magical gift for music. He learned to play the biwa with incredible skill. A biwa is a traditional Japanese stringed instrument played with a large wooden pick. When Hoichi played the biwa, he also sang songs about the past. His favorite song was about the great battle of Dan-no-ura. He sang about the brave warriors and the sad fate of the defeated family. Hoichi sang with so much emotion that people would cry when they heard him. His voice was deep and rich. His fingers moved perfectly over the strings of the biwa. Soon he became famous all over the region. People traveled from far away just to hear the blind musician play his songs. One hot summer night, the priest went out to visit a sick friend. Hoichi stayed alone at the temple. The night was dark and quiet. The air was warm and heavy. Hoichi sat on the wooden porch of his room. He held his biwa and waited for the priest to return home. Suddenly, Hoichi heard the sound of heavy footsteps approaching the porch. The footsteps sounded like a samurai warrior walking in heavy armor. The steps stopped right in front of Hoichi. A deep and commanding voice called out his name. Hoichi was startled and answered the mysterious visitor with a polite bow. The voice belonged to a samurai retainer. The retainer told Hoichi that his lord was visiting the area. The lord had heard about Hoichi and wanted to hear him sing the song of the great battle. The retainer ordered Hoichi to bring his biwa and follow him to the lord immediately. Hoichi was a poor blind monk and he could not refuse a powerful lord. He picked up his biwa and put on his sandals. The retainer grabbed Hoichi by the hand and led him away from the temple. They walked very fast through the dark night over rough and uneven ground. Finally, they arrived at a large gate. Hoichi could hear the heavy wooden doors opening. They walked inside, and Hoichi felt that he was in a grand palace. He heard the rustling of elegant silk clothes and the quiet voices of many important people. The servants guided him to a soft mat. A woman with a gentle voice told Hoichi to begin his performance. She said the Lord wanted to hear the story of the sea battle. Hoichi tuned his biwa and began to play. He sang about the ships on the water and the brave warriors fighting with their sharp swords. As Hoichi sang, he heard the audience weeping. The sound of their crying grew louder and louder. They sobbed with deep sorrow as he described the tragic end of the defeated family. Hoichi felt proud that his music could touch their hearts so deeply. He played with even more passion. When the song was finished, the woman thanked Hoichi. She told him that his performance was the most beautiful they had ever heard. She asked him to return every night for 6 more nights. But she gave him a strict warning. He must not tell anyone about his secret visits. The retainer led Hoichi back to the temple before the sun came up. The priest was asleep and did not know Hoichi had left. The next night, the retainer came again. He took Hoichi to the grand palace to play his biwa. This happened for several nights in a row. One morning, the priest noticed that Hoichi looked very tired and pale. He asked Hoichi if he was feeling well. Hoichi remembered his promise to the mysterious woman. He told the priest that he was fine and just had trouble sleeping. But the wise priest knew something was wrong. The priest told his helpers to watch Hoichi closely. That night, the helpers saw Hoichi leave the temple alone in the dark. They followed him quietly. The night was raining and cold. They lost sight of him for a moment, but then they heard the sound of a biwa playing. The helpers followed the music to the local graveyard. They found Hoichi sitting alone in the rain among the old stone tombs. These were the tombs of the defeated warriors from the great sea battle. Hoichi was playing his biwa and singing loudly to the empty dark air around him. Strange ghostly fires burned around Hoichi in the darkness. The helpers were terrified. They realized that Hoichi was performing for the spirits of the dead warriors. The grand palace was just an illusion created by the ghosts. The helpers grabbed Hoichi and pulled him away from the haunted graveyard immediately. Hoichi was angry and confused. He thought they were interrupting his performance for the great lord. The helpers dragged him back to the temple and told the priest everything they saw. The priest realized that Hoichi was in terrible danger. The ghosts were draining his life energy every single night. The priest sat Hoichi down and explained the truth. He told Hoichi that he had been visiting the graveyard, not a palace. The people weeping were the angry ghosts of the dead samurai. The priest warned Hoichi that if he went back again, the ghosts would surely tear him apart. Hoichi was filled with fear. He finally understood that he had been tricked by the spirits. He asked the priest to save him. The priest knew a powerful magic spell to protect Hoichi from the ghosts, but the priest had to leave the temple again that night for important business. Before leaving, the priest took a brush and some black ink. He wrote holy words all over the body of the blind musician. He wrote on his chest and his back. He wrote on his arms and his legs. He even wrote the holy words on his face and hands. These holy words were called Sutras. The priest explained that the Sutras would make Hoichi invisible to the ghosts. The spirits would not be able to see him or touch him. But the priest gave Hoichi one very important instruction. Hoichi must sit perfectly still and remain completely silent tonight. The priest warned Hoichi that if he moved or made a single sound, the magic would fail. The ghosts would find him and take him away forever. Hoichi promised to obey. The priest left the temple and Hoichi sat on the wooden porch. He waited in the dark, quiet night. Hours passed and the night grew colder. Hoichi sat like a stone statue. He did not move a single muscle. He held his breath and listened carefully. Suddenly he heard the familiar sound of heavy footsteps. The ghost of the samurai retainer was walking toward the wooden temple porch again. The heavy footsteps stopped right in front of Hoichi. The ghost called out his name. Hoichi felt his heart pounding in his chest. He wanted to scream, but he remembered the warning. He kept his mouth tightly closed and stayed perfectly still. The ghost called his name a second time. The ghost sounded angry and confused. He shouted for Hoichi but received no answer. The ghost stepped onto the porch and walked right up to the blind musician. Hoichi could feel the cold presence of the spirit standing directly in front of him. He closed his unseeing eyes very tight. The ghost grumbled to himself. He said he could see the Biwa, but he could not see the musician. The holy words written on the body of Hoichi were working. The ghost looked all around the porch. Then the ghost noticed something strange hovering in the empty dark night air. The ghost saw two human ears floating in the darkness. The priest had made a terrible mistake. When he painted the holy words on the body of Hoichi, he forgot to paint the ears. Because the ears had no holy words on them, they were completely visible to the ghost. The ghost declared that he must take something back to his lord to prove he visited the temple. Since he could only see the ears, he decided to take them. The cold hands of the ghost reached out and grabbed the ears of the poor blind musician. Hoichi felt terrible pain. The ghost ripped the ears right off the head of Hoichi. The pain was unbearable, but Hoichi did not make a single sound. He did not cry out or move his hands. The ghost threw the ears into his armor and stomped away into the dark night, leaving Hoichi alone. Hoichi sat on the porch, bleeding and in great pain. He waited until the sun finally began to rise. When morning came, the priest returned to the temple. He walked onto the porch and saw blood everywhere. He found Hoichi sitting frozen in the same spot from the night before. The priest was shocked and deeply saddened. He realized his terrible mistake immediately. He cried out to Hoichi and apologized for forgetting to paint the holy words on his ears. The priest quickly helped Hoichi inside and carefully bandaged his wounds to stop the bleeding and ease his great pain. The priest told Hoichi that he was very brave. By staying completely silent despite the terrible pain, Hoichi had saved his own life. The ghosts had taken his ears, but they could never come back to bother him again. The magic had worked and the spirits were gone for good. Hoichi rested for many weeks while his wounds slowly healed. The story of the brave blind monk and the angry ghosts spread across the land. People were amazed by his courage and his incredible self-control. They called him Hoichi the Earless, and his fame grew greater than ever before. Wealthy lords and ladies traveled from all over Japan to hear him play the Biwa. They gave him many generous gifts of gold and silver. Hoichi was no longer a poor monk. He lived a comfortable life at the temple and continued to play his beautiful music for the living. This famous Japanese story teaches us many important lessons. First, it shows the incredible power of art and music. The music of Hoichi was so beautiful that it crossed the boundary between the living and the dead. His songs carried so much emotion that even angry ghosts were moved to tears. The story also teaches us about the importance of following instructions carefully. The priest made a small mistake by forgetting the ears, but that small mistake had painful consequences. In life, we must pay attention to the details, especially when we are trying to protect ourselves or help other people. We also learn about the power of courage and discipline. When the ghost tore off his ears, Hoichi experienced terrible pain. But he knew that crying out would cost him his life. He showed amazing self-control by staying silent. Sometimes we must endure hardship to survive difficult situations safely. Let us practice some English vocabulary from this wonderful story. The word blind described someone who cannot see. Hoichi was a blind musician, but he used his hearing and touch to create beautiful art. You can use this word to talk about people or animals who have lost their sight. Another important word is ghost. A ghost is the spirit of a dead person. In many cultures, people believe that ghosts stay on Earth if they are angry or sad. In our story, the ghosts of the defeated warriors stayed near the water because they died in a terrible battle. The word temple is also used many times in our tale. A temple is a building where people go to pray and practice their religion. The priest lived in the temple and took care of it. Temples are usually very quiet and peaceful places filled with beautiful statues and gardens. Let us look at the word invisible. If something is invisible, you cannot see it. The holy words made the body of Hoichi invisible to the ghosts. The spirits could only see his ears because they were not covered by the magic ink. This is a very useful descriptive word. Finally, we have the word courage. Courage means being brave when you are facing danger or feeling very afraid. Hoichi showed great courage when he sat alone in the dark waiting for the ghost. He showed even more courage when he stayed silent despite the terrible pain of losing his ears. Learning English through stories helps you remember new words easily. When you connect a word like courage to the brave actions of Hoichi, your brain stores the information better. Try to use these new words in your own sentences today. Practice speaking them out loud to improve your English pronunciation. You can also practice retelling this story to your friends or family. Start by describing the blind musician and his beautiful songs. Then explain how the ghosts tricked him into playing at the graveyard. Finally, tell them about the magic ink and how Hoichi lost his ears to the angry spirit. Retelling stories is a fantastic way to build your confidence in speaking English. Do not worry if you make small mistakes with grammar. The most important thing is to share the emotion and the message of the tale. Your friends will love hearing about the brave monk and the ghosts. Thank you for joining us today on Fairy Tales English Journey. We hope you enjoyed the thrilling story of Hoichi the Earless. If you liked this video, please click the like button and share it with other English learners. Your support helps us create more wonderful story videos for you. Do not forget to subscribe to our channel so you never miss a new adventure. We have many more exciting fairy tales and legends to share with you. Keep practicing your English every day and remember the brave spirit of Hoichi. See you next time for another magical learning journey.